I remember that day as if it were etched in stone, even though everything afterward changed so much that I barely recognized myself. I am Soren Rowe, 35 years old, an ordinary aerospace engineer who spent most of my life in vast aircraft hangars where the roar of engines drowned out everyday worries. I never dreamed of wealth or soap opera family drama. My life was simple: work, come home to Tessa, my wife, and occasionally spend weekends on hiking trips. But then a call from a lawyer's office changed everything. It was a late afternoon, the Detroit sky gray as usual. Heavy clouds foretelling impending rain. I had just left the lawyer's office, clutching the will my grandfather Gideon had left behind. Grandpa, the man I loved most in the world, with his kind smile and stories of his life, from a poor farm boy in rural Michigan to a shrewd investor. He had passed away a few months earlier, and I never expected him to leave me a massive fortune. Over $40 million. Not to my parents, not to my brother Spencer, but to me, the grandson he always said had a sincere heart. I drove along the familiar highway, the radio playing old rock tunes I loved. My heart raced with excitement. My wife will be shocked, I thought to myself. We had been married for 5 years, though our marriage wasn't always smooth. My wife was a fashion designer, always busy with meetings and creative ideas. She was beautiful, confident, and sometimes made me feel a bit out of place in her glamorous world. But today, with the money from Grandpa, we could buy a new house, travel, even invest in her dreams. I pictured her hugging me tightly, beaming, and us planning our future together. And my parents, would they be proud of me? My father, Lawrence, always saw me as a dreamer, not as practical as Spencer. My mother, Margot, openly favored my brother. But now this might change everything. I would prove I deserved it. Wind whipped through the car window, carrying the scent of damp earth. I sped up a little, eager to get home. The highway was crowded, but I was used to it. I called my wife, but she didn't pick up. Probably busy, I told myself, smiling alone. I thought of Grandpa, the afternoons he taught me chess by Lake Michigan. He always said, "Soren, money isn't everything, but it can buy freedom if you use it right." Now I understood. With this money, I could quit my job, pursue my passion for building small planes, or even help struggling colleagues. Then everything happened too fast. I was in the middle lane when suddenly from the opposite direction a massive truck barreled toward me. It swerved as if the driver had lost control. My heart clenched. "Damn it, what's he doing?" I honked frantically, trying to veer right. But it was too late. The truck slammed into my car, the crash of metal like thunder, glass shattering. My body hurled forward, then yanked back. Pain exploded everywhere, as if someone were tearing me apart. Screams, mine or someone else's, mixed with distant sirens. The acrid smell of burning rubber filled my nose. I tried to grip the wheel, but my hands shook, blood trickling from my forehead into my eyes. No. I thought of my wife, Grandpa, the life I had just dreamed of. Darkness rushed in, swallowing everything. I sank into endless void where pain vanished, only a distant whisper remained. "Help. Help me." When I woke, the world around me was blurry and alien. My head throbbed as if 1,000 needles pierced it at once. I blinked several times, trying to focus. I lay on a hard bed, body entangled in wires and machines. Steady beeps from the heart monitor mingled with the sharp smell of antiseptic. Hospital room. Yes, this was a hospital. I tried to move, but my limbs were numb. I could only twitch my fingers. Pain surged from my chest and legs, making me groan. "What happened?" I whispered, voice hoarse. Memories flooded back in shattered fragments. The lawyer's office, the will, the highway, the truck. Accident. Yes, I had been in an accident. But how long ago? I looked around. Stark white walls, curtains half drawn, no one there. No wife by my bedside, no mother with a worried face, no father with his stern voice. Just me, alone in this cold room. A nurse entered, her face lighting up when she saw me awake. "Oh, you're awake. Let me call the doctor." She hurried out, and minutes later, a middle-aged man in a white coat appeared. He smiled, but it didn't hide his fatigue. "Hello, Soren Rowe. I'm Dr. Harlan. You're awake. Good. Do you remember anything? I nodded weakly. Accident, truck. I was heading home. Dr. Harlan did a quick check, reviewing the monitors. Yes, you were in a severe car crash. Head trauma, broken ribs, some internal injuries. You've been in a coma for over a month. Honestly, we thought you might not make it. Few survive in your condition. Over a month, I was reeling. A whole month lying here unconscious while the world moved on. I tried to sit up, but pain forced me back down. My family, where are they? My wife, Tessa, my parents, my brother, Spencer. Dr. Harlan paused, his eyes flickering with hesitation. Well, we tried contacting them using the information in your file, but no one has visited you this whole time. We assumed they had their reasons. No one came? My heart felt crushed. Tessa, the woman I loved, who I thought would always be there in tough times, didn't come? My parents, though not the warmest, were family. Spencer, my brother, jealous as he was, we were still siblings. Why had no one shown up? Confusion spread like an icy wave. Maybe there's a mistake. Please call them again for me. Dr. Harlan nodded. We'll try. Rest now. You need time to recover. He left, leaving me alone with a tangle of thoughts. I stared out the window where raindrops tapped rhythmically on the cold glass. They slid down, blurring the neon lights outside. Detroit was the same, damp, heavy, but today the rain made me feel lonelier than ever. I tried to recall what happened before the accident. The will? Yes, Grandpa left me $40 million. Back then I thought it was a gift of joy, a new beginning. But now, lying in this sterile white room with a broken body and an empty heart, I began to wonder, had that money changed everything? Why had no one come? Did they even know I was alive? Or was something far worse waiting in the shadows? The days that followed passed in a haze of medications, physical therapy, and persistent pain. Dr. Harlan told me I was lucky. My body was recovering better than expected. I practiced walking in the hospital corridors, each step trembling like a toddler's first. Every time I looked in the mirror, I saw a stranger, gaunt, disheveled hair, and deep-set eyes full of doubt. I called my wife dozens of times, but the number always said unreachable. My parents, too. The phone rang and then went dead. Spencer? I didn't even try. My brother had never been one to show concern. I told myself maybe they thought I was dead, or there was some mix-up with the information. But deep down, a small voice whispered that it wasn't that simple. After more than a month of treatment and recovery, I was finally discharged. That day brought rare sunshine in Detroit, but my heart felt heavy as storm clouds. Dr. Harlan shook my hand, wished me luck, and gave me a bag of medications with instructions. Rest, Soren, and call your family. They must be worried. I nodded, but my mind was fixed on one place, our suburban home where Tessa was waiting. Or so I hoped. I took a taxi, sitting in the back, watching the scenery slide past the window. Familiar streets now felt alien, as if the world had shifted while I lay unconscious. My heart beat faster as the car turned into our quiet neighborhood where we had bought our house 3 years ago. It was a small house with a red-tiled roof and a garden where my wife loved planting flowers. I imagined her running out to hug me, tears in her eyes and everything returning to normal. Tessa Quinn, my wife, 31 years old. We met at an art exhibition where she showcased her first collection. I, a dry and somewhat awkward engineer, was captivated by the confidence in her eyes. Tessa made me feel special, as if in that crowd she saw only me. But now, as the taxi stopped in front of the house, a vague unease crept in. Why hadn't she come to the hospital? Was it work or something else waiting behind that door? I paid the driver, grabbed my light bag, and walked up the path. The key was still in the pocket of the old pants the hospital returned. My heart clenched as I inserted it into the lock. The door opened with its familiar creak, and the scent of Tessa's vanilla candles hit my nose. Tessa? I'm home, I called, voice slightly shaking. But then, I froze at the threshold. In the living room on the sofa where we used to watch movies, Tessa sat beside Spencer, my brother. They were intimate in a way that took my breath away. Tessa's hand on Spencer's thigh, him whispering something in her ear, a smug smile on his lips. Spencer was an arrogant investment analyst with mediocre skills. He lived off our parents, chasing luxury and superficial connections. Fancy cars, parties, fake relationships. I always tried to be a good brother, even though Spencer often mocked me as a country mechanic. But now, seeing them like this, my world collapsed. Both turned when they heard the door, their faces drained of color, eyes wide, as if they had seen a ghost from hell. Tessa dropped the wine glass she was holding. It shattered on the floor, fragments scattering across the wood. "Soren, you're alive." Her mouth stammered, trying to explain, but words choked in her throat. "It's not what you think. Spencer instinctively stepped back, his trembling hand gripping the chair, eyes meeting mine for a moment before darting away, unable to face me. I stood frozen, heart stabbed with pain, blood rushed to my head, ears ringing. "What are you doing?" I growled, voice breaking with agony. "Tessa, you and Spencer?" While I was in the hospital fighting for my life, why didn't anyone come? I was in a coma for over a month, nearly died, and you're here. Like this? Tessa stood, stepping toward me, tears welling. "Soren, please let me explain. I thought you were..." She paused, wiping tears. "I didn't know you were alive. No one told me. Spencer was just comforting me. We're just friends." "Friends?" I scoffed, the laugh bitter. Hand in hand, whispering, "You think I'm blind? And why didn't you come to the hospital? The doctor called you, everyone. Why no visits?" The conversation grew tense, the living room air heavy like a storm about to break. Tessa knelt before me, clutching my legs, begging forgiveness. "I was wrong, Soren. I panicked when I heard about the accident. I thought you wouldn't make it. Spencer, he helped me cope. But I love you. Only you." I looked down at her, heart shattered. Tessa, the woman I thought was everything, now seemed small, fragile. But her betrayal was an unhealing wound. Spencer didn't beg. Instead, he stood, trying to regain his usual smug arrogance. "Big brother, you survived? Good, but don't overreact. Tessa needs someone strong, not a hospital case. She chose me. Accept it." His words slapped me. I pushed Tessa away, turned, and left the house, unwilling to hear more. My heart hurt so much I could barely breathe. In that anguish, I drove to my parents' house, hoping for comfort or an explanation. The familiar road now stretched endlessly, each turn evoking childhood. Evenings when Dad worked late, Mom busy with her art collection, Spencer always pampered. Lawrence Rowe, my father, a former bank executive, ambitious, valuing money and power over family. He taught me life was a battle and the weak get eliminated. My mother, Margot Rowe, an art collector, polished, skilled at hiding emotions, controlling the family like an artist arranging a perfect painting. As I parked in front of the large house in the upscale neighborhood, my heart pounded. I knocked, and Mom opened the door. Her eyes flashed with fear, a blink so quick I almost missed it, then shifted to forced joy, pretending warmth. "Soren, darling, you're back. Come in, come in." She hugged me, but the embrace was stiff, cold. Dad stood in the doorway, face stern. His eyes studied me thoughtfully, not joyful. "Son, you okay?" Mom quickly pulled me to the salon sofa, asking about my health, pouring water. "Where have you been?" I was so worried. "You didn't call." I looked at her, trying to stay calm. "Mom, I was in the hospital over a month. Car accident, coma. The doctor called everyone. Why no one came?" My parents exchanged a quick glance. Dad cleared his throat. "Accident? Well, we didn't get any calls. Probably a mix-up. You're fine now. Stay for dinner tonight." They answered evasively, steering to other topics. Weather, Spencer's job, Mom's new paintings. Anger rose in me. Parents, I'm serious. And I just came from home. Saw Tessa with Spencer. They were closer than appropriate. Did you know? Silence. Mom shook her head. No, dear. How could that be? Tessa's a good daughter-in-law. Probably a misunderstanding. But her eyes avoided mine, hands clutching the glass tightly. Completely suspicious. Dad just grunted. Our family doesn't have such issues. You're tired. Rest. Soon I stood, said I'd return later, and left in silence. On the drive back, cold wind through the window, I felt a vague sense something was being hidden. Not just betrayal, but a larger conspiracy. My heart raced, nervous, like stepping into darkness. Tessa, Spencer, my parents. What were they hiding? And why did everyone react like seeing a ghost? I clenched my fists, determined to uncover the truth. After leaving my parents' house, I rented a simple motel room and stepped into the musty space, still faintly smelling of cigarette smoke. A hard mattress, yellowed wallpaper, and a small wooden table by the window overlooking an empty parking lot. It wasn't home, but at least it gave me space to breathe, to think without interruption. I sat for hours in silence, the dim desk lamp casting shadows on my weary face in the mirror. I tried to piece together everything I'd just witnessed, like assembling a puzzle missing key pieces. The image of Tessa and Spencer together replayed in my mind, like a horror film on endless loop. Tessa with her fake smile, hand on Spencer's thigh, him whispering something, face smug like a victor. And then, when they turned to see me, those terrified eyes, not surprise but horror, as if I were a ghost risen from the grave. Why? I had nearly died, but now I survived, and they reacted like that. Not joy, not embracing me, but paling, stammering. My heart felt heavy, like a stone crushing my chest, making every breath labored. I recalled the hospital days, alone with the beeping machines, no visits, no flowers, no inquiries. Dr. Harlan had said they tried contacting them, but now I wondered. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they knew, but chose not to come. The thought chilled me. Tessa, the woman I loved passionately, whom I thought would be with me till old age, now in my brother's arms. Spencer, the little brother I'd protected since childhood, shared toys with, helped through job failures. He always envied me, but betrayal to this extent? And my parents, those I'd always tried to please, though they were never truly proud of me. Mom's evasive eyes, Dad standing like a statue. What were they hiding? Grandpa's will, $40 million, perhaps the key. That money could change people, turn family into enemies. I opened my phone, hands shaking as I scrolled through call logs and messages. The screen glowed in the dark, illuminating cold numbers. No missed calls from Tessa, Spencer, or my parents. No texts asking, "Are you okay?" or "Where are you?" For over a month in the hospital, my phone had been silent as a tomb. Only a few bank and work notifications, soulless things. I scrolled deeper, hoping for something, but nothing. My heart sank, a dull pain spreading. Did they know about the accident? Or did they hope I wouldn't wake? The dark thought made me shudder, but I couldn't shake it. I set the phone down, stood and paced the room, the wooden floor creaking underfoot. Outside the window, rain fell harder, pounding the glass like fingers knocking, reminding me the truth was out there, waiting to be uncovered. I couldn't sit still anymore. I needed clarity, to know who saved me, who cared for me during the coma. If not family, then who? The next morning, I drove back to the hospital, heart pounding like war drums. Detroit's sky was gray, chilly winds blowing through empty streets, carrying exhaust and fallen leaves. I parked in the lot and entered the lobby with heavy steps. The antiseptic smell hit me, evoking days of immobility. I went straight to reception, where a young clerk typed away. "Hi, I'm Soren Rowe. I was here over a month. I want my medical records and to ask about who brought me in." She looked up, slightly surprised. "Mr. Rowe, let me check." She typed, then frowned. Your records were transferred from another hospital. Mercy Hospital in the suburbs. We only took you after stabilization. Want to see Dr. Harlan? I nodded, excitement rising. Transferred from another hospital? I remembered nothing of that. Dr. Harlan appeared minutes later, still with that tired smile. Soren back already. What's wrong? I briefly explained the family's absence, the doubts gnawing at me. He listened, then nodded. I understand. Actually, I never met any of your relatives. No wife, no parents, no one. Only a middle-aged man brought you in initially. He was the only one who signed guarantees, paid all costs, a large sum, and requested patient anonymity. We respected it. He said you might be in danger if information leaked. My heart stopped. Danger? Who was he? Describe him. Dr. Harlan shook his head. No name, just said an acquaintance. Tall, salt and pepper hair, deep voice, seemed from out of town. He stayed almost the whole coma, day and night. I remember because it's rare to see such dedication. Left only when I confirmed you were out of critical condition. He even instructed us not to contact anyone but him. I asked to speak with the night nurse. An older nurse named Maria entered, face kind. Oh, that man? He was like your father. Sat by your bed for hours, read to you, changed fresh flowers daily. So worried, always asking doctors. When you woke, he smiled and left. Her words overwhelmed me. Someone, a stranger, saved me, cared for me while blood family abandoned me. I thanked them, then left the hospital, mind reeling. Rain poured harder, water streaming on sidewalks, but I didn't care. One question echoed, why did everyone vanish when I lived? And who was the man who saved me? Back at the motel, I collapsed on the bed, trying to sort everything. The man, tall, salt and pepper hair, sounded familiar, but I couldn't place him. Maybe a friend of Grandpa's. Gideon had mentioned old friends in Canada or elsewhere, but why anonymous? And danger from where? I thought of the accident, the truck barreling in, the horrific crash. Random or intentional? Spencer owed me money, envied my job. Tessa complained about our ordinary life. Parents, always controlling family assets. Grandpa's will, leaving everything to me, perhaps the trigger. Many days passed, and I lived in a half-awake, half-dreaming state, like a ghost wandering through my own life. The musty motel room became my lair, where I curled up on the bed, eyes wide open, staring at the cracked ceiling. Each morning I woke, my head heavy from chaotic dreams. Tessa smiling at Spencer, my parents' evasive eyes, and the hospital machines beeping endlessly. I ate haphazardly, a sandwich from a roadside shop, a cup of cold coffee. My mind was tangled with unanswered questions, gnawing at me hour by hour like a shadow that wouldn't let go. Who was the middle-aged man who saved me? Why did he stay hidden? And my family? Did they truly wish I were dead? The thought made me tremble, cold sweat breaking out despite the warm room. I avoided going out much, fearing someone was watching, dreading the world beyond the door. Detroit seemed alien now. Familiar streets were full of lurking shadows. I spent hours at the old wooden table, flipping through scribbled notes, records from Mercy Hospital, descriptions of the salt and pepper-haired man, and my own guesses. My father had vaguely mentioned an uncle, his younger brother who left home young due to disagreements, moving to Canada for some investment work. I'd never met him, only seen him in a few old photos at Grandpa's. A tall, stern young man by Lake Michigan with a rare smile. Could he be the one who saved me? But why stay anonymous? Outside the window, Detroit's sky was leaden gray, chilly winds swirling fallen leaves. I felt loneliness so intense it choked me, as if the whole world had turned its back. I remembered Grandpa Gideon, the simple man with the lakeside cabin. He once said, "Soren, the ones beside you when you fall are your real family." His words echoed now, tears rolling down my cheeks. I wiped them quickly, telling myself to be strong. But inside, emotions stormed. Anger at my wife's betrayal, pain over Spencer, the brother I once loved, and confusion about my parents who should have been my rock. I still sat there, watching the words blur under the yellow light. Then a sudden knock at the door made my heart clench. Who? I wasn't expecting anyone. I stood, tiptoed to the door, listening. The knock came again, steady, patient but firm. I peered through the peephole. A middle-aged man stood there, tall, stern-faced, eyes both familiar and strange. He wore a long gray coat, salt and pepper hair cropped short, looking weary as if from a long journey. My heart raced. Was this the man the nurse described? I took a deep breath, unlatched the door, hand still gripping it, ready to slam if needed. "Hello, nephew," the man said, voice deep and warm with a slight northern Canadian accent. "I'm Silas Rowe, your father's brother." I was speechless, mouth agape. Silas, my uncle, known only through Dad's stories. He stood there, imposing with a faint smile but worried eyes. I nodded, stepping back to let him in. Uncle Silas? Come in." My voice trembled like a child meeting a stranger. We entered the cramped room. I hurriedly cleared papers from the table, turned on the electric heater to chase the chill. We sat by the fire, its fake flames dancing on the walls, creating a false coziness. I poured him water, hands still shaking. "Uncle, how did you know I was here?" Silas looked at me, eyes deep, weighing every word. "I've been watching from afar, Soren, since you left the hospital. You're in big trouble and I'm here to help." I sat, heart pounding. Excitement surged. Was this the moment truth emerged? Uncle Silas spoke slowly, voice steady but emotional. "Before he died, Grandpa Gideon contacted me. He called from the hospital, voice weak but resolute. He spoke of the will, the over $40 million estate he left you. He told me, 'Silas, if anything bad happens after the will is revealed, protect Soren. He's the only grandson with a true heart.' I promised, though we'd never met. I listened, tears welling. Grandpa, had he foreseen this? I remembered afternoons by Lake Michigan, him holding my hand. 'You'll face trials, but remember, honesty will save you.' Now his words lived through Uncle Silas. He continued, 'About a month ago, I got a call from Grandpa's lawyer. He repeated the warning. If anything bad happens, watch Soren. I was in Windsor, just an hour's drive from Detroit. Then I saw local news about a serious accident. Victim named Soren Rowe. I came to Detroit immediately, confirmed at the hospital. Doctors said 20% chance of survival. I didn't want to complicate things, so I quietly paid the bills and requested anonymity. I was stunned. 'Uncle, you were the middle-aged man? The one who brought me in, paid everything, stayed by my bed?' He nodded, eyes red. 'Yes, Soren. I signed guarantees, paid, and asked for secrecy to avoid trouble. I sat with you through the coma, reading to you technical books Grandpa said you loved. I prayed, hoped you'd wake. Left only when doctors confirmed you were past critical. I feared if I revealed myself early, your family would interfere.' 'Interfere?' I asked, voice faltering. Excitement rose. Did he know about their plot? Uncle Silas placed a warm hand on my shoulder, fatherly in a way I'd never known. 'Soren, it's not simple. I've seen strange signs. But first, know I'm here for Grandpa, for you, the last true Rowe.' We talked into the night. He shared his past, why he left, disagreements with Dad over business ethics, choosing honesty over ambition. I told him about the hospital, Tessa and Spencer's betrayal, my parents' fearful eyes. He listened, nodding as if he knew. 'You suspect right. But we need proof. I've started investigating.' That night, for the first time in days, I slept soundly. Uncle Silas stayed, sleeping on the sofa. The next morning, we ate breakfast together, toast and coffee from a nearby shop. He told more about Toronto, his quiet life, and how Grandpa kept secret contact. 'Grandpa believed in you, Soren. He saw in you what he didn't in your father or Spencer, integrity.' I listened to Uncle Silas, each word like cool water, soothing the thirst in my heart. But then, as we returned to the motel room, he sat at the table, his face more serious than ever. 'Soren, I've told you the beginning. Now you need the rest. What I discovered, it will hurt. My heart clenched, a bad premonition flooding in. I nodded, sitting across from him, the heater's light casting long shadows on the walls. He took a deep breath and began, voice low like whispering a horrific secret. After I passed the critical phase at Mercy Hospital, Uncle Silas said everything seemed stable. I was recovering bit by bit, body weak but consciousness clearing. He still stayed close, keeping distance to avoid detection. Just days later, Tessa and Spencer appeared at the hospital. They didn't visit like normal relatives, no flowers, no nurse inquiries. Instead, they lurked like ghosts, lingering in hallways, peering through the room window, faces tense as if awaiting something. Uncle Silas watched from afar, hidden behind a corner, heart racing with suspicion. "They weren't glad you survived," he said bitterly. They looked disappointed. Blood froze in my veins, chilling me head to toe. Tessa, my wife whom I held every night, and Spencer, my own brother, waiting for me to die. The thought choked me like hands around my throat. Uncle continued, eyes darkening. "Then one night when the duty doctor was away, they sneaked into your room. I was out getting coffee but returned just in time to see them through the glass." Tessa stood guard at the door, face pale. "Spencer, he injected something strange into your IV line. They acted fast, then left as if nothing happened." My heart pounded wildly. The image vivid, Spencer's trembling hand with the syringe, Tessa glancing around fearfully. My condition rapidly worsened, heart monitor blaring, blood pressure plummeting, body convulsing in coma. I remembered nothing of that moment, but Uncle Silas said he rushed in, shouting for doctors. "Lucky I returned in time," he said, voice shaking. "I caught it early. With emergency help, they flushed the poison from your system. You escaped death a second time, Soren. But this wasn't accident. It was murder." Pain surged like a wave, crashing into my chest. I gripped the chair, nails digging into skin. My family tried to kill me, not just abandon, but actively push me to death? Uncle Silas rested a hand on my shoulder, comforting, but I felt numb. After that, he realized your life was threatened. He couldn't let it continue. He enlisted old friend Rayan, Mercy Hospital director, who owed him a life debt from youth to fake records. They declared patient Soren Rowe dead from complications, issued a fake death certificate, and notified authorities. "Only way to protect you," he explained. "They'd think you dead. I'd have time to investigate." That night, I was secretly transferred to a small, quiet suburban hospital with leafy grounds. Uncle Silas said he hired a private ambulance, covered my face with a sheet, and moved me under cover of darkness. For weeks after, he cared for me devotedly, monitoring recovery, checking IVs, telling stories to ease loneliness, while quietly starting his own investigation. He hired a private detective, an old Toronto friend skilled in discreet surveillance. The detective shadowed my parents, Spencer and Tessa, those I once called family. When news of my death reached them via local papers and hospital notice, my family didn't grieve. Instead, they held a private gathering at a fancy downtown Detroit restaurant. Uncle Silas got video from the detective. His voice grew heavy. "Watch," he said, handing me a USB. I plugged it into my old laptop, hands trembling as I hit play. Grainy but clear footage. My father, Lawrence, raising a wine glass in toast, face radiant with relief. "Finally, everything's settled," he said, voice echoing through speakers. My mother, Margot, silent but eyes relieved, smiled faintly as Spencer hugged Tessa. They sat close, smiling, talking future, new house, yacht, the fortune soon in their names. 40 million, ours now, Spencer laughed loudly, stroking Tessa's hand. "No more Soren in the way." I stopped the video, heart crushed. The image burned in, them celebrating my death like a victory feast. Uncle Silas looked at me, eyes red. "I understand their inhumanity crossed all lines. They're not family anymore, Soren. They're enemies." But the story didn't end. Another time, the detective recorded Spencer talking to a stranger at a suburban cafe. Footage showed Spencer handing a thick cash envelope, face tense, In the audio, Spencer's voice clear. "This is the final payment. Disappear. Say nothing. If asked, you never met me." The man nodded, pocketed it, and left. Cross-referencing, Uncle Silas found the recipient was the truck driver from my accident, a middle-aged man with drunk driving priors, hired by Spencer to cause the crash. Hospital camera data confirmed Spencer's car leaving just as I deteriorated after the poison injection. Everything connected. The accident no coincidence, but planned from the start. Spencer hired the driver. When I survived, he and Tessa tried to finish me in hospital. Parents, they knew and covered it. After finishing, Uncle Silas handed me everything: photos, videos, recordings, camera data copies, a thick file on the table. I sat silent, fists clenched, heart suffocating. Memories flashed. Tessa beaming on our wedding day, Spencer playing as kids, parents hugging me at graduation. All now just false shells, shattered like glass underfoot. I felt no anger, only paralyzing pain, an endless void swallowing emotions. Tears rolled down silently. Uncle Silas placed a hand on my shoulder, speaking slowly. "From here, decisions are yours, Soren. Forgive or let justice speak. I'll stand by you, whatever." I nodded faintly. My eyes darkened, deep and calm like post-storm water. The tempest passed, but undercurrents remained. I was no longer naive Soren. I had changed, ready to face it. That night, after Uncle Silas left to gather more evidence, I sat alone in the cramped motel room, the dim desk lamp casting light on the pile of files. Chilly wind whistled through the window crack, carrying the scent of damp rain from outside. Detroit at night was eerily quiet, only distant car sounds echoing like whispers from the past. I turned off the light and lay down, but sleep wouldn't come. Instead, memories flooded back like a film in reverse, slow but sharp, making my heart ache in waves. I closed my eyes, letting them sweep me away, a way to better understand what happened and what was coming. I remembered childhood in the sprawling suburban Detroit house, a granite mansion with endless hallways and manicured gardens. It should have been paradise, but to me it was always cold like an ice castle. My father, Lawrence, in his impeccable suits and stern voice, always buried in bank work. He sat at his desk for hours, lamplight on his harsh face. When I entered, he glanced up a second, then back to papers. "Soren tinkering with machines again?" So impractical. Learn from Spencer, he has business sense. His words cut like knives, making me, a 10-year-old obsessed with model planes, feel out of place like unwanted clutter in that glamorous house. I recalled building a small plane from garage scraps. It flew a few meters. I ran to show Dad, eyes shining. But he just glanced, smirked. "Child's toy. Spencer's the family future." My heart clenched then, but I swallowed tears and walked away silently. My mother, Margot, was subtler, but her favoritism hurt more. An art collector, always busy with exhibitions and expensive paintings lining the walls. She orchestrated family like an artist perfecting a canvas. Meals on time, clothes spotless, love unevenly distributed. She always shielded Spencer, no matter his wrongs. Once he broke her antique vase, cried, and she hugged him. "It's okay, darling, accident." But when I accidentally dropped a table clock, she eyed me disdainfully. "Soren, so clumsy. Why not careful like your brother?" I was the outsider in my own home, a silent ghost watching from afar. She doted blindly on the youngest. Spencer got new toys, praised before guests, while I fended for myself. I remembered evenings alone in my room, watching rain through the window, wondering why I wasn't loved like him. Hurt filled me, but I learned to hide it, building a hard shell over my young heart. And Spencer, my brother I once loved like flesh and blood, was arrogant from the start. A year younger, but always acting superior. With golden hair and charming smile, he knew how to win people. But to me, he mocked. Want to be the family mechanic in a noble house? Go fix cars for others. Leave big things to me. His words pricked like needles. I hurt but didn't fight back. We played once, chasing in the garden, building sandcastles by the lake. But jealousy crept in. When I got an engineering scholarship, Spencer smashed my plane model, sneering, "Think you're smart? Parents won't be proud." I forgave, thinking it childish, but now I saw the hatred seeded long ago. Spencer lived off parents, no real skill, chasing vanity, luxury cars, parties, boasts. I helped him, loaned money after his stupid investment flop, but he never thanked, just smirked and turned away. Amid the coldness, only Grandpa believed in me. Gideon Rowe, living simply in his small lakeside cabin. Unlike the family, old shirts, fishing, reading by the fire, not chasing money. When I visited, often alone, parents busy, he welcomed with warm hugs and kind smiles. "Come in, grandson. Today I'll teach you to fix an old engine." He taught beyond textbooks. Honest living, judging people by actions, not words, money not ruling you. We sat by the lake, wind whistling. He shared youth stories. "I was rich once, Soren, but money doesn't bring happiness. It reveals character." I listened, entranced, feeling accepted for the first time. He taught model planes, bike repairs, and most. Honor over gold. I remembered afternoons when parents visited Grandpa, discussing family funds, investment plans to preserve legacy. Dad excited. "Dad, invest in stocks, double it." Mom nodded, eyes ambitious, but Grandpa smiled, shook head. "Money doesn't speak truth about people, but how they earn and keep it does." He winked at me as if for me alone. Parents ignored, continued plans, but I understood. Grandpa warning, teaching to see through glamour. Then Grandpa fell ill, late-stage liver cancer. Parents visited sparingly, busy with work, leaving quickly. Spencer never came, claiming parties. Only I, the impractical grandson, came often. I drove hours to Lake Michigan, sat by his bed, wiped sweat, gave medicine, listened to final stories. He weakened, but eyes bright. "Soren, you're my hope. Don't let money blind you." Those afternoons, lake sparkling in sun, wind carrying damp wood and fresh fish. I held his hand, feeling warmth fade, heart grateful for him. The day before he died, he gripped my hand tightly, voice faint but firm. "One day you'll understand why I chose you." I nodded, tears falling, not fully grasping. He smiled last, passing peacefully by his beloved lake. The funeral was grand. Parents organized big but fake. They cried, then discussed inheritance. I quietly placed white flowers at the grave, whispering thanks. Weeks after, life normalized. Aircraft hangar work, home to Tessa, evenings cuddling, watching movies. Tessa then was the woman I loved. Sharp, confident smile making my heart flutter. We dreamed. Bigger house, kids, travel. Then the call from Grandpa Gideon Rowe's lawyer about the will. I sat frozen in the office, phone in hand. "Over 40 million, all to you." Heart raced with joy, not for money, but Grandpa chose me, proving his faith. I rushed home, told Tessa in naive excitement, "Love, this changes everything for our little family. We can do anything." Tessa hugged me, beaming, "Amazing, Soren. We'll be happier." But now recalling, her smile was odd, eyes flashing greed, not pure joy. I told parents. They congratulated curtly, but Spencer silent, face dark. I thought temporary jealousy, never imagining that joy bought a murder plot by those I called family. Memories stopped. I opened my eyes in the motel darkness. Heart heavy, but no more tears. The film clear now. Dad's coldness, Mom's bias, Spencer's arrogance, all leading to betrayal. Grandpa foresaw, chose me for honesty, sent Uncle Silas to protect. I stood, looked at rain through the window, anticipation rising, undercurrents brewing, confrontation, court, justice. No longer naive, I was a man ready to fight. The following days passed in a whirlwind of thoughts and preparations. Uncle Silas and I sat for hours at the old wooden table, flipping through files, rewatching videos, replaying recordings. Each time pain surged, but now it no longer weakened me. It forged me, turning into strength. Uncle Silas was patient, sharing more about his years away, how Grandpa kept contact through secret letters. Grandpa knew this family was rotten long ago, he said, voice deep and sad. But he hoped you'd change everything. I nodded, heart racing with anticipation. I no longer wanted to hide. I wanted confrontation, not just with pain, but with truth. Looking them in the eye, watching lies crumble. After days of deliberation, I decided it was time. We would go to my parents' house, where I knew Tessa and Spencer often visited, and expose everything. That morning, Detroit's sky was gray, rain pattering on the windshield like my anxious heartbeat. Uncle Silas drove, face stern, hands gripping the wheel. I sat beside him in an old jacket, holding a bag of copied evidence, papers, USBs, printed photos like a ticking bomb. The road to my parents' house was heartbreakingly familiar. Leafless trees, upscale neighborhood with grand homes where I grew up in isolation. My heart pounded, excitement rising like before battle. "Ready?" Uncle Silas asked, voice calm. I nodded. "Ready." They must pay for what they did. We parked at the large iron gate, walked the stone path. I knocked. The sound echoed in the cold air. Mom opened the door, face flashing surprise, then forced smile. But seeing Uncle Silas behind me, it froze. "Silas? When did you return?" she stammered, voice trembling. We entered the vast living room where Dad read the paper, Tessa and Spencer on the sofa with coffee cups. The family froze seeing Uncle Silas, the one they thought gone forever, whom Dad banished for disagreements. Spencer jumped up, face pale. Uncle Silas? Why are you here?" Tessa covered her mouth, eyes wide in terror. Dad set the paper down, eyes flashing anger. "Silas, what are you doing here? This family doesn't welcome you." The air thickened in silence, like heavy fog enveloping the room. Crystal chandelier light shone but couldn't dispel inner darkness. Their eyes dodged, mixed fear and unease. Mom bit her lip, Dad clenched the chair, Spencer stepped back, Tessa stared at the floor. I felt my pulse quicken, excitement like standing on a cliff edge. Uncle Silas stood firm beside me. "I'm here for Grandpa, for Soren, and for the truth you've hidden." I breathed deep, recounting everything, voice calm but resolute. I described the accident, the truck charging like a monster, horrific crash, darkness swallowing me. Then over a month in coma, body in pain with wires and machines and their total absence. No visits, no inquiries. I detailed the hospital plot, Tessa and Spencer sneaking in, injecting poison into my IV, nearly killing me again. I spoke of Uncle Silas, saving me, watching day and night, faking records to protect, and the investigation. Video of them celebrating my death, recording of Spencer paying the truck driver, camera data confirming his car leaving as I deteriorated. Each word cut the tense air like a knife. I watched their faces shift, surprise to panic. The family erupted like a storm. Dad stood abruptly, face red with rage. "You're lying. Delusional from the accident, Soren. You nearly died. Your mind's messed up." Mom interrupted shrilly. "Son, how can you say that?" We worried but didn't know which hospital. "This is Silas's plot. He's back to seize Grandpa's estate," Spencer growled, pointing at Uncle Silas. "You vanished years ago, now brainwashing my brother. Those proofs are fake. I did nothing." Dad and brother hurled insults at us, traitors, the outsiders trying to deflect, deny everything. The living room heated, shouts echoing, my heart racing, excitement breathless. I saw fear in their eyes, not remorse, but exposure dread. I said nothing, slowly placing all copied evidence on the table. Papers, USBs, clear photos. Celebration video, Dad toasting, Mom smiling in relief, Spencer and Tessa kissing. Recording of Spencer paying. Final payment disappear. Hospital camera photos. Spencer's car parked, shadowy figures sneaking. Their faces shifted from anger to panic, then total collapse. Dad flipped through papers, hands shaking. "No. Impossible. Misunderstanding, Soren. We just worried for the family future. He tried denying, voice faltering, but his eyes betrayed. He knew, now feared. Mom burst into sobs, slumping in the chair. "Oh God, how did this happen? We didn't mean it." She covered her face, shoulders shaking, but I saw falseness, crying over exposure, not regret. Tessa collapsed in terror, beautiful face twisted in horror. "Soren, please, I was wrong. Don't call police." She reached for me, tears streaming, but I felt nothing. Spencer knelt on the floor, eyes hateful. You'll regret this." "I'm your brother. Why?" He clenched fists, face ashen, sweat pouring. The room drowned in chaos, cries, stammers, papers scattering. I stood, heart racing with excitement, but no fear, only cold calm. "Justice will handle the rest," I said slowly, voice steady. "I won't forgive. You chose this path, betraying, murdering kin for money. Now face consequences." My words like a verdict, slicing the heavy air. The family knelt, begging. Dad grabbed my leg. "Son, forgive me." "We're family," Mom sobbed. "Soren, I beg you." Tessa clung. "I love you, please." Spencer whispered, "Brother, don't." But I turned silently, no looking back. Heart ached, but no room for pity. They killed kinship long ago. As Uncle Silas and I left, the house sank in sobs in total ruin of those once rows. We stepped out, rain falling harder, soaking coats. Uncle Silas patted my shoulder. "You did well." I nodded, drove into the night, heart still pounding with adrenaline. Excitement lingered, court coming, but I knew justice would prevail. Childhood memories returned, that coldness now ended. I was free. After that confrontation, Uncle Silas and I wasted no time acting. We returned to the motel, sat at the old wooden table under the dim light and reviewed the files one last time. Uncle Silas looked at me, eyes resolute. "Now it's time to hand it to the authorities, Soren. We have ironclad evidence, undeniable." I nodded, heart still pounding from the encounter. Their pleading cries echoed in my mind, but I felt no pity. They chose this path, now justice would decide. The next morning, we drove to Detroit's Central Police Station, a gray building with endless hallways and the scent of strong coffee. We met the lead detective, a middle-aged man named Jordan, weathered face with a silver mustache. Uncle Silas briefed him, then handed over all evidence: videos, recordings, camera data, financial records. I sat beside, recounting my story, from the accident to the poison attempt, voice calm but waited. Detective Jordan listened, frowning, then nodded. "This isn't a normal accident. We'll reopen the case immediately." My heart raced faster, excitement mixed with relief. Finally, the wheels of justice turned. Police moved swiftly like a whirlwind through my family's fake peaceful life. They reopened the case, quickly classifying it as organized attempted murder for inheritance. I was called to the station several times for statements, sitting in cold interrogation rooms with water cups and flickering fluorescents. Each time, memories flooded, the truck charging, horrific crash, engulfing darkness. But now I spoke without trembling. I was stronger. They arrested the truck driver days later, a middle-aged man named Jack, with a long record of drunk driving and gambling. Handcuffed, face pale in interrogation. His confession: Spencer hired him for $50,000, promising more if the job was done. He said, "Just crash the car, make it look accidental," he stammered. "I needed money," agreed. Didn't know he wanted his own brother dead. The words struck like a final knife, confirming my suspicions. Spencer, the brother I protected, planned my murder for money. Heart ached, but no tears. I sat silently, watching through one-way glass as he bowed in regret. Financial data dug deeper, everything exposed like daylight. Transfers went through Tessa's accounts, my wife, whom I trusted absolutely, to erase traces. She used personal accounts for small transactions disguised as gifts or business support. Detective Jordan showed statements, cold numbers, dates matching pre-accident. "She's a key accomplice," he said gravely. "Transferred money, covered up, directly involved in the hospital plot. I stared at the figures, recalling Tessa's wedding smile, golden hair and son vow forever with you. Now all lies. Pain rose, but I swallowed it, steeling myself. My parents, Lawrence and Margot, swept into the vortex. Found guilty of concealing crime, forging Grandpa Gideon Rowe's assets. They planned shifting part of the $40 million inheritance to a family fund, legitimizing seizure if I died. Forged documents in their safe, transfers, fake signatures, emails with private lawyers. Dad, who valued money over family, faced harsh truth. Mom, skilled at hiding emotions, had nothing left to conceal. The trial lasted over 3 weeks, gripping Detroit media like a fever. Downtown courthouse packed with reporters, flashing cameras, curious crowds outside gates. Each day I drove in a simple black suit, Uncle Silas beside. Courtroom heavy. Polished wood benches, black-robed judge, silent jury listening. Prosecutor presented sharply. Celebration video on big screen, Dad's voice echoing. Finally, everything's settled. Crowd murmured, reporters scribbled. Spencer's payment recording, cold voice, final payment disappear. Hospital camera photos. Spencer and Tessa sneaking. Financial data. Tessa's transfers. Driver's testimony. Spencer hired me to crash. Uncle Silas's, saving me, bedside vigil, voice warm but firm. I sat in the witness chair recounting everything from accident to waking alone, betrayal to poison plot. Voice steady, heart racing with anticipation. Each trial day a battle. Defense denied, calling evidence forged, misunderstanding. But jury shook heads, faces horrified. Spencer in defendant's seat, gaunt, arrogance gone. He glared hatefully, but I met his eyes unflinching. Tessa wept through proceedings, once beautiful face twisted in fear. Dad sat slumped, shoulders bowed. Mom wiped endless tears. Media frenzy. Rowe family case. Murder plot for $40 million inheritance. Reporters interviewed me in hallways, cameras flashing, but I declined. Let the court decide. Nights back at the motel, I lay awake. Memories of Grandpa by Lake Michigan, teaching honesty. You'll understand why I chose you. Now I did. He chose me to fight greed. Anticipation peaked each court morning, but I knew truth would win. With irrefutable evidence, verdict came final day. Courtroom silent as judge read, voice resounding. Spencer Rowe sentenced to 20 years for conspiracy and attempted murder. Spencer collapsed, handcuffs clinking as police led him away. Tessa Rowe receives 12 years for complicity in aiding the plot. Tessa sobbed, face buried, not looking at me. Lawrence Rowe sentenced to 8 years for concealing crime and forging assets. Dad stood, shoulders shaking, eyes meeting mine last. Not anger, but late regret. Margot Rowe gets 5 years probation for cooperating and health reasons. Mom sat still, tears flowing, nodding acceptance. As verdict read, I stood silently, eyes calm, no anger, only closure. Crowd buzzed, reporters rushed, but I walked out, cold wind through corridors carrying old paper scent. Justice came, late but sure. Heart no longer heavy, only peaceful void. Weeks later, Uncle Silas and I visited Grandpa Gideon's grave, a chilly autumn afternoon by Lake Michigan. Simple stone engraved with his name and live honestly, die honorably. We placed white daisies, simple like him, and stood silent. Lake wind whistled, carrying sweet water and fallen leaves. I knelt, whispering, "Thank you for choosing me. I understand." Uncle Silas, hand on shoulder. Grandpa's proud. We lingered hours, remembering him. Fishing trips, lessons, will changing everything. Lake sparkled in sunset like his comfort. Leaving, I felt lighter than ever, past closed, future waiting. Then we left Detroit for abroad, starting anew, continuing Gideon's legacy honorably. Uncle Silas suggested Toronto, his second home, where he had a small investment firm focused on sustainable engineering. I agreed, packing simply. Clothes, old technical files, Grandpa's photo. Detroit airport bustled, boarding calls echoing. We boarded, sat by window, watching city fade below. Detroit, where I was born, grew, nearly died, now faint lights under clouds. I closed eyes, leaving all. Losses, betrayals, past restored by justice. Plane shuddered, lifting off, wind roaring, and I felt true freedom. In Toronto, we started over. I as aerospace engineer for a small firm, Uncle Silas guiding inheritance investments in green projects. Not for wealth, but help. Mornings waking by Lake Ontario, cool breeze. I remembered Grandpa and smiled. New life, no shadows, only honest light. After everything, as the nightmares gradually faded and life began flowing in a new rhythm, I realized the most precious thing wasn't the fortune or courtroom victory, but the truth and honor restored to myself and Grandpa. The $40 million, the vast estate Grandpa Gideon left, now sat safely in investments, no longer a burden or temptation. It was merely a tool, not the goal. I remembered those long nights in Detroit, lying in the hospital with a painful body, wondering why everyone abandoned me. Now in Toronto, sitting by the small apartment window overlooking the lake sparkling in early sunlight, I understood truth had freed me. Not money, not the prison sentences for Spencer, Tessa, my father and mother, but the moment I looked them in the eye, watching the facade shatter. Grandpa's honor, the simple man by Lake Michigan, was cleansed of filthy schemes. He chose me not because I was perfect, but because he believed I'd preserve it through honesty. And I did. Each morning, brewing black coffee in the tiny kitchen, I felt that peace spread, not triumphant joy, but the serenity of someone rediscovering himself after the storm. I understood greed, whether from fear or control, ultimately leads only to loss and destruction. Family, once my pride, was now a scar reminding me of honesty and humanity's value. I learned forgiveness, not for them but for myself, so the scar wouldn't control my life. In this foreign land, I started from zero, investing with Uncle Silas in engineering manufacturing. Toronto welcomed us with clean streets, vast lakes, and fresh air unlike gray Detroit. We rented a small workshop on the outskirts with old machines and spacious views of pine forests. I worked as an aerospace engineer designing small, renewable energy planes. My childhood dream. Uncle Silas managed investments, using the inheritance for equipment, hiring passionate young staff. Early days, I woke early, drove through roads of falling golden leaves, heart racing with excitement. No family pressure, no betrayal shadows, only honest work. First mornings at the new workshop, I still thought of Detroit, but without bitterness. Only gratitude for surviving and following Gideon Rowe's path. Toronto's sunlight streamed through workshop glass onto cluttered desks with drawings and tools. I paused, looking out. Lake Ontario glittering, wind carrying sweet water scent. Detroit returned. Rainy streets, cold hospital, noisy trial. I remembered parents, Spencer, Tessa, not with anger but thanks. They pushed me to the abyss, but I survived stronger. Grandpa Gideon, his path, honesty, simplicity, I followed. Each morning I brewed coffee, sat at the desk, journaled. Today I'm grateful to be alive. No bitterness, only lesson. Survival isn't random, but to live right. I rewrote Grandpa's words, hung in the office. Honor isn't in money we have, but how we keep it. Small wooden plaque, deeply carved by my desk. Employees passed, read, nodded. To me, a reminder justice doesn't always come early, but to those steadfast facing truth. I remembered him holding my hand before death. You'll understand. Now I did. Justice late, through pain, but perseverance wins. At the workshop, project stuck, I looked at the plaque, breathed deep, continued. The reminder spread. Uncle Silas hung a copy in his office. We lived by it. Honest investments, no deceit. To me, the story closed not with revenge, but awakening that sometimes losing everything is the only way to find yourself. I lost family, Detroit, old trust, but regained myself, an honest, strong Soren. In Toronto, jogging by the lake, cool wind blowing, I felt that awakening. Loss a lesson, leading to freedom. No revenge, I chose justice, now living peacefully. Remember, never trade dignity and family for money, for when trust shatters, no verdict can mend it.